Bitter criticism, reading, I don't know what reading. Let's see what's happening in the Middle East again. I guess Al Jazeera. I just forgot what else. I'm just going to read again another genocide dossier special, like three times a day. Al Jazeera live updates live. New Israeli strikes on Beirut. Hezbollah says Israeli troops killed by Niels Adler and Stefan Killen, October 3rd, 2024. Hezbollah says it killed 17 Israeli soldiers in clashes along the border after earlier announcing it had detonated a bomb against troops attempting to enter the village of Maroum al-Ras. An Israeli airstrike targeted a residential apartment in the Shia neighborhood of the Lebanese capital after strikes last night on central and southern Beirut killed at least 9 people. And 4 minutes ago now. 4 minutes ago, World Bank reroutes $250 million to Lebanon aid response.
Okay.
What? The World Bank has announced that it will divert $250 million in funds to Lebanon's emergency aid response. Why not Palestine? But anyway, the funds are being directed from a program intended to improve the country's electricity infrastructure and boost renewable energy. Quote, the World Bank is activating emergency response plans to be able to repurpose resources in the portfolio to respond to the urgent needs of people in Lebanon, according to World Bank. There are currently some 1.2 million people displaced in Lebanon, with aid groups warning of a nightmare scenario. And 6 minutes ago now. Airstrike in West Bank's Tulkarem. Our colleagues at Al Jazeera Arabic are reporting that Israeli forces have carried out an airstrike on Tulkarem refugee camp in the occupied West Bank. We will bring you more information shortly. 14 minutes ago. Lebanese civilians, quote, bearing brunt of damage, UN official. Imran Rissa, the UN's resident and humanitarian coordinator, has said the mass wave of displacement and destruction of civilian infrastructure in Lebanon has been catastrophic, with civilians bearing the brunt of the pain. Quote, the level of trauma, the level of fear amongst the population has been extreme, Risa said. Quote, you've got people being displaced from one place to another, thinking they were going to a safe place, and then that being struck, he added. Risa noted that international humanitarian law demands aid workers be allowed to reach people in need and that civilian infrastructure be protected. Quote, unfortunately, we are seeing a situation where we have to go back to everybody and advocate for these basics in terms of protecting civilians, unquote, he said. The number of Lebanese people killed by Israel since it intensified its attacks on the country last week is approaching 2,000, according to Lebanon's health ministry. And we have a photograph from Lebanon. Why not here, isn't it? Morrissey. I forgot Morrissey's name. Well, says smoke rises after a strike in Beirut's southern suburbs and its surroundings, as seen from Haddad, Lebanon, October 3rd. 24 minutes ago now. 3 of UN RWA's schools in Gaza struck in 48 hours, Lazzarini, the head of UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, says that in the past 2 days alone, 3 UNRWA schools were hit in Gaza. In a post on X, Philip Lazzarini said at least 21 people were reported killed. Quote, more than 140 UN RWA schools have come under attack since 7 October. The majority while people were taking refuge in them under the UN flag, unquote, he said. Schools cannot be used for any military purposes by anyone. Schools are not a target. These are some of the basic rules of war blatantly disregard. And we have the Twitter here, the tweet Philip Lazzarini. I guess it's the same thing I just read. It's always like that. But I'm going to read it again. Philip Lazzarini. Gaza, in the past 2 days alone, 3 UN RWA schools were hit in Gaza. At least 21 people were reported killed. The schools were home for more than 20,000 displaced people. Some schools were hit more than once since the war began. More than 140 UNRWA schools have come and I don't want to read it. I like Twitter. But anyway, 34 minutes ago now. 34 minutes ago. Israel capable of more assassinations. Israel can be expected to assassinate more Iranian and Iran-aligned leaders to show the world its capabilities, according to military and security analyst Elijah J. Magnier. Quote, I think assassinations will not be an option that Israel will not take. On the contrary, he told Al Jazeera, Israel has already shown its capability to target leaders in Iran and Lebanon. He pointed out, including last week's killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah. Among the possible future targets for assassination, Magnier said top of Israel's hit list might be Ismail Kahani, the commander of the IRGC's Quds Brigade, or even the head of the IRGC itself, Hossein Salami. Quote, that is a possibility that is on the table, said Magnier, pointed out that this will likely cause a further response from Iran. When Iran launched its missile attack on Israel this week, it specifically mentioned it was in retaliation for the killings of Nasrallah as well as IRGC General Abbas Nilforushan, he said, who were both killed in an Israeli airstrike last week in Beirut. Iran also mentioned Ismail Haniyeh, a top leader in Hamas, who was assassinated in Tehran in a suspected Israeli attack in July. Israel was already, quote, preparing for intercepting the next wave of the Iranian retaliation once Israel hits the desired targets, unquote, Magnier said. And the very last one, I guess, 50 minutes ago. Not a Chemical Brothers video clip. The US and Israel are now discussing the next steps. Kimberly Halkett, reporting from Washington, D.C. We know from repeated statements by the US President, the Secretary of State Antony Blinken, the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and others that the US stance has always been one of unconditional support for Israel. However, it is very clear that serious considerations is being given to Iran's message to the United States that unilateral self-restraint is now over. Prior to that message from Iran, the United States had sent the message to Israel that it will condone an appropriate response as long as it was proportional and it did not attack nuclear sites. From the standpoint of Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, this could not be worse timing, given that the presidential election is 1 month away. And that's it. Well, there's a news about France on this, all this genocide. It says 1 hour ago, France slams Israel's decision to bar UN chief. France is the latest country to publicly back UN Chief Antonio Guterres after Israel stopped him from entering the country and declared him persona non grata. In a statement, France's foreign ministry said it regrets the unjustified, serious and counterproductive decision, unquote, by Israeli authorities. Paris said it had, quote, full support for and confidence in Guterres, adding that the United Nations played a fundamental role in the stability of the Middle East. And that's it.